Hello and welcome back to the Living in Color podcast. Today, I just wanted to tell you how I got started in photography, what kind of cameras I use, as well as my first photo gig, I guess you could say. I first got started before I joined college. I remember I took a picture of my community college like pond. I'm like, oh, that'd be a really nice picture. So I took my camera out and just started taking pictures of the pond. I think that was my first like professional photo. I guess it's not really professional, but I think that's what really kick started my passion and love for photography. So fast forward a couple years, me and my family decided to go on a trip to New Orleans. So w- while we were there, we were enjoying, beignets, the stores, um, the pizza. Our hotel was right next to this really, good pizza shop. The day after we got there, we actually went to Cafe du Monde and we got the beignets. After that, we watched a street show. And at that street show was where I took my first photography picture. I guess that like the picture at the pond at my community college, my previous community college, that was more so like just for fun. But after I took this picture at the street show, I like knew I'm like, this is what I want to do in life. I want to do photography. So the picture is actually of my feet in black and white. Like not my bare feet, like my Converse. So I was sitting on the ground with like my knees in like, a mountain, like this, like a mountain. And I took my camera, my phone, and I just took a picture of, you know, my shoes. And I put the photo in black and white, and I just loved it. So that is actually the first photo that got me into photography and you wanting to take pictures. Um, and actually, my family went to New Orleans. I know this is kind of off topic, but my family went to New Orleans at the peak of COVID. We didn't know yet, but we were actually coming home from Florida because we took a trip to New Orleans or Florida, and we were coming home from Florida, and we got the announcement that there's going to be a quarantine, a global lockdown. We're like, oh no. So yeah, but now I'm going to talk about my first professional gig. It wasn't really a professional. It was more so just, something to, test my skills. So basically, I had been asked to work at this barbecue. It was for a fundraiser, and I was extremely nervous. Now, just give a little backstory. I was before the barbecue, I was taking pictures at my church. And I had learned that you need to go up to people and ask, to take their photo. So that all came into play at the barbecue. So I arrived there. I'm nervous. I'm sweating bullets because this is like the first time I'm taking like pictures for an event. And they can't be bad because these pictures are rep representing, the organization. So I get there and I start taking random pictures. Like the event hadn't even started yet, the guests hadn't started yet, but it was just supposed to be staff there. But I, I I got there and I was taking you random pictures of the restaurant because I was nervous. And then as like the guests started trickling in, I kind of like cowered and and hid because I was so nervous to ask people for their photos. I did not have a contract or business insurance, as mentioned by Nicole. So, how do you deal with getting consent from the people the from the people you photograph?
So that is all handled in my contract. And I will say your contract and your business insurance are two of your biggest assets that you will have as a photographer. So there's a clause in my contract that actually says that the client will agree for me to be able to use their photos for marketing and advertising. I have had a few like high profile clients that don't want their photos shared publicly. And so of course that's something, we just strike through that clause on the contract and all of their stuff is kept confidential. But for the most part, I think my clients actually like to see, their photos published and showcased. And so that's typically not an issue for us.
So I couldn't just go around, taking pictures of people, but it was very hard. I was using my Nikon D300, which is my grandfather's camera. He actually passed that down to me. He actually surprised me and gave me all his camera equipment, all stuff. It's just like so crazy. I'm so thankful for that. But I was using my Nikon D300, and the pictures were so bad. They were so dark. Some of them came out blurry. I was like, oh my goodness, because I actually had it on, manual, change. So I was adjusting the settings myself, the ISO, shutter speed, the aperture, all that. I was adjusting it myself, and the pictures that were not good. I took this one picture of these group of volunteers, and it came out so dark you couldn't even see them. And then I took a picture of another staff member, and it was just so dark. And at that time, I didn't know how to work my camera because I was still getting um, taught by my church because my church has a photography program, which is not really as prominent as it used to be. Um, but yeah, those pictures were bad, but I actually got to make up for it. Um, like I think last week or 2 weeks ago, um, the barbecue actually asked me back to take more photos for the event because it was the same barbecue fundraiser. And they asked me to come back. So I took pictures again, and this time I was way more confident. Actually, we went up and asked more people if I could take their photo so that the nonprofit organization could have a wider variety of pictures to choose from. Unlike last time, they had like 30 photos to choose from. But this time, I tripled it. I gave them, I think, like 65 photos. So, I mean, at least it's more than 30, 31 photos. So, um, but yeah, I walked in there. I was more confident because I had been taught from my church as well as I had learned from, my past experience at the barbecue. So, yeah, but I walked in there, started taking pictures of the staff. I actually asked some staff members to take their photos. They said yes. I took some pictures of the guests. I took more pictures of the guests than I did last year. I think last year at the barbecue, I took maybe like 4 guest pictures, but this time I took 8. So, or I think it was like 11 pictures. I'm not sure how many, but it was way more before than last year. And um, there was also a picture where my mom wanted me to take a picture of her and the owner of the restaurant. And again, I didn't know my camera, so that picture came out very bad. It was super dark. So this year, I actually took a picture of him and his wife. Um, it was great quality, great lighting. Just it, you could just definitely see my improvement from last year. So, and I've been you wanting to like to show you the pictures that I've taken, like my improvement, but this is a podcast. So, you know, if I turn this into an audio podcast, then the people who will be listening won't be able to see. So, but I also wanted to tell you the cameras I use. So as I mentioned before, they are passed down by my grandpa. They are the Nikon D700 and the D300. Um, I first started using the D300, but for some reason it's not taking the SD card anymore. This is a funny story. So I was actually taking a picture at a banquet. Yeah, a banquet. And I had finished. No, I wanted to take a couple of more pictures. So I went to the back to switch out my SD card, but then my camera kept saying, error, can't read SD card. There's a problem with the SD card. I was like, what? So I was trying to get it to work. I'm like, you were just you working a second ago, but it that camera stopped working. I can't put the old SD card back in without saying error, and I can't put a new SD card in there without saying error. So I'm currently using my D700, and it takes way cleaner photos. It's very crisp. So yeah, but that's all I had prepared for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. What tips and tricks do you have for beginner photographers as well as current photographers?
So for beginner photographers, I can't stress enough to practice, practice, practice. Shoot outside as much as you can. Ask your family members if you can photograph them, and also work for other photographers as well. Once you're able to observe your colleagues and how they run their businesses and their shooting style, you'll also learn a lot from that. Um, and then also really look into your equipment and research the best camera that's for you and whatever genre of photography you're going to go in. Different cameras might work better or worse depending upon if you want to be a landscape photographer or a wedding photographer. So definitely learn the mechanical side of photography, but also don't feel afraid to play with, you know, different lighting and different subjects and have fun with it.
And then what what tips and tricks do you have for current photographers?
So I would say if you've been in the industry for a while, if you feel like you're hitting a creative roadblock, which that happens to all of us at one point or another, a good idea would be to bring in a mentor. Find a photographer whose style that you admire and ask your questions, maybe shadow them, offer to shoot for free. I know that's a big way that I learned in the very beginning. I shot my very first wedding, actually, I shot for another photographer free of charge, just so I could learn and watch and observe how they ran their business and how they did things. So definitely mentorship and relationships with other photographers is really important to basically perfect your craft.
Please tune in next week for my next episode. I plan on sharing some photography horror stories. Now, I might change the topic a little bit. I might not share horror stories. I might share like how to find your photography style, like how to know what you like. But I mean, we'll see, we'll see. And then also next week, I'll share what I specialize in. So I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Bye.